Discover the surprising truth. When I called my daughter-in-law about the wedding, I was shocked. Clara held the phone to her ear, her heart racing as Rachel's cheerful voice spilled through the receiver. She should have been basking in the joy of her only son's upcoming wedding. Instead, she wrestled with an uncharacteristic anxiety. "So, Rachel, are we still on for the final details this afternoon?" she asked, her voice slightly strained. Just then, Rachel's tone shifted, excitement bubbling underneath a weighty revelation. "Clara, there's something I need to tell you about Sam's dad." The words hit like a thunderclap. Clara's stomach twisted. For so long, she'd wrapped her identity around her family, her sacrifices molding her into a one-dimensional supporter. She had always been the nurse, the mother, never the artist she yearned to be. As Rachel continued, Clara's mind reeled, grappling with the unexpected truths about her late husband. A hidden musical talent? The very life she had sacrificed for their family had stifled his creativity. Was this the life they had shaded with tradition, while his unrealized dreams lay beneath the surface, desperate to breathe? "I know he never spoke about it, but Dad had a beautiful voice. He loved to play," Rachel said softly. Clara's breath hitched. What could have sparked such a talent to fade into shadows? She could feel her internal landscape shifting, the weight of her husband's unfulfilled aspirations dredging up her own long-buried dreams. In a rush, memories flooded her, swirls of paint, canvases untouched, melodies that had once danced in her head, all buried under years of parental duty. Duty. Servitude disguised as love. Was her commitment to family merely a shackle? Rachel's voice brought her back, but Clara barely heard her anymore. How could she reconcile this shocking revelation about the man she loved with her own realization of a life half-lived? A churning pit of anger ignited inside her, the faces of society glittering with judgment, demanding sacrifice at the altar of family. Was it worth it? The question echoed in her mind, a siren call to forsaken ambitions. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Clara clenched the phone tighter, feeling the fabric of her selfhood unravel as the call continued. "Clara, we can—" Rachel's hopeful tone clashed violently against Clara's spiraling thoughts. She wanted to hold on to this moment of connection, yet dread clawed at her insides because it threatened to uproot everything she thought about duty and loyalty. What did art signify in a world steeped in expected roles? The impending wedding, a sacred rite, seemed less like a celebration, more like a battlefield where tradition would wrestle against the faint voice of unfulfilled dreams. Clara's resolve wavered. In those precious minutes, she sensed the threads of an unspoken pact between her and Rachel, trembling in the air. A shared identity forged in silence, waiting to be embraced. But could they shine together? Or would their need to express themselves rattle the very foundation of their familial bonds? As tension gripped her, a sudden ring echoed in the kitchen, startling Clara. The unwelcome sound carved through her thoughts, leaving her frozen. Who could it be now? The choice ahead loomed large: face the unraveling of her comfortable reality, or retreat into the familiar shadows of obligation. Clara hesitated, feeling the pressure build, drowning in uncertainty. Clara stared at the phone as if it held the answers to questions she hadn't yet spoken. The buzzing sensation of anxiety morphed into frustration. Each ring pulled her deeper into a chaotic swirl of thoughts. The call from Rachel had ignited a fire, one that illuminated heart-wrenching truths she had buried for decades. As she finally reached to silence the device, she felt the weight of choice. Each ring was a moment lost, and yet The unkind voice of obligation rooted her in place. "Mom?" The voice on the other end was faint and uncertain. It was Sam. The instant recognition of her son's voice brought a rush of emotion. "You okay?" he asked, sensing the tension saturating her silence. Clara took a shaky breath, forcing herself into the present. "Yes, yes," she replied, her tone heavier than she intended. "Just thinking about the wedding." Even as she spoke, something inside rebelled against the idea of trivializing her newfound awareness with small talk. "Right! We're all excited. Can't wait to see you and Rachel finalize everything." His innocent enthusiasm sourced a tinge of guilt. She remembered how much he relied on her, how her years of dedication defined their bond. But now that devotion felt like a dual-edged sword. "Sam, can I ask you something?" Clara's voice went quiet, a determined whisper punctuated with fear. It felt like stepping into a deep, cold lake, exhilarating yet overwhelmingly frightening. "Tell me about your dad. What do you remember?" There was a pause, as though Sam was sifting through time, pieces of memories that had lain dormant like distant stars. "He loved music," Sam finally said. "You know that. Sometimes he'd play that old guitar on the porch. I never knew he liked to sing, though." His voice conveyed a tenderness, an affection for a father veiled in mystery. Clara felt a pang of loss, not only for her husband, but for missed moments. She wondered if each unspoken dream, each unresolved desire had cost them all dearly. Could she also reclaim the music that lay dormant within her? Streams of creativity pulsed beneath the surface, desperately seeking expression. "Do you think we should, keep that part of him alive? Like, have a tribute or something at the wedding?" Sam mused, injecting urgency into Clara's spiraling curiosity. What if the wedding served as a catalyst, bridging her past with her present, transforming it into something potent? A ripple of excitement fired through her veins. "Absolutely, yes," Clara replied, the conviction surprising her. Yet, as the dialogue continued, she felt the steely grip of tradition clamoring for attention. The wedding was supposed to uphold a legacy, hers or her husband's. Established roles threatened to suffocate creativity like a chokehold. Was she really prepared to shatter the mold? Taking a moment to gather her thoughts, Clara realized action was necessary. "Sam, let's do this together," she asserted, her voice gaining strength. "Let's change how we celebrate. Let's make this meaningful for all of us." She felt a surge of warmth in her chest, an emerging clarity wrapped in purpose. Their conversation flowed easily after that, imagining ways to align the wedding with her husband's unvoiced passion for music. But even as Clara plotted their next steps, uncertainty lingered at the edges of her mind. Every step toward reclaiming her artistic identity felt like a leap into the unknown. Would family understand? Could her ambitions coexist with their expectations? As they wrapped up the call, Clara felt invigorated and terrified all at once. Reflection turned into strategy. She needed a plan not just for the wedding, but for herself. This was not just about honoring Sam's father, but about confronting her own neglected voices. Taking a breath, she wandered over to her art supplies, long neglected in the corner of her dining room. The clutter echoed her chaotic thoughts, yet she found a strange comfort in it. She picked up a brush slowly, contemplating. The canvas remained blank, a world of possibilities lying in wait. But what if confronting the canvas also meant facing her family's expectations? The dual battle of honoring her husband's legacy while forging her path loomed on the horizon, infinity stretching out in front of her. Feeling the urge of an unsung melody rise, she dipped the brush hesitantly into paint. As she prepared to make the first stroke, she realized the stirring conflict deepened. Would she have the courage to press on against the tides of tradition and her own fears? Or would doubt silence her once again? The answer lay just beyond the tipped edge of her brush, and Clara felt the weight of the moment settle heavily upon her shoulders, as if defining what her next steps would be. Clara stood before the blank canvas, uncertainty swirling like the paint on her brush. The vibrant colors beckoned her, promising release and renewal, yet familiarity with her own hesitations held her captive. Would a single stroke unleash the dam of creativity she had kept hidden for so long, or would it only reveal the contours of her fears? With a deep breath, she pressed the bristles against the canvas, allowing the first stroke to flow. It splashed across the white surface, bold and stark. Each movement echoed the intensity of her thoughts, a psychological battle unfolding. This was not mere paint. It symbolized choices unmade and dreams deferred. As she began to layer the colors, Clara felt the frenetic energy of her past merge with her present. Memories of laughter, of her husband strumming that old guitar on the porch, filtered through her mind, mixing with her apprehension about the future. How could she celebrate a man's legacy while carving out her own nearby? Did she even have the right to paint over the fabric of their shared life with personal ambition? The brush moved fluidly in spite of her internal conflict, and she found herself lost in the rhythm. With every stroke, she unearthed pieces of herself long relegated to the shadows, an echo of her own aspirations rising from the humid, muted air. She was an artist again, not just in the sense of the brush, but in her approach to everything in life. Yet, as she let go of her hesitations, her mind drifted back to Sam's question. Did she truly want to shift the norms of their family, to turn the wedding into a celebration of creativity rather than convention? Gripped by apprehension, she recalled the foundation of her son's world, steadfast traditions that strengthened their bond even as they stifled her growth. Clara's adeptness as a mother had always been tied to compromise, but was it possible to remain devoted while also honoring herself? The vibrant colors on the canvas were her unvoiced thoughts, yearning to emerge. But could these newfound expressions jeopardize her family's expectations? She paused, brush hovering over the paint. Should she conform to what they wanted? Or should she risk it all, allowing her art and voice to intertwine within this sacred family milestone? The duality of obligation and desire burned hot within her, a crucible testing her loyalty. With a decisive flick, she continued painting, allowing her vision to take shape. The canvas transformed into a tribute, a reflection of her husband infused with her own artistry. Infusing notes of music into swirls of color, she felt the first true exhilaration she'd experienced in years. It was more than a representation of her husband's lost dreams. It began to take on a life of its own. Clara felt her pulse quicken, the pieces of her identity coalescing in a bold yearning that moved beyond maternal duty. Turning the wedding into a platform for her voice would be a risk, but perhaps it was a necessary one, an evolution that would reshape their familial bonds into something richer. As she stepped back to admire her work, a startling realization settled in. She wasn't just reclaiming her artistry, but redefining her existence. An array of decisions lay ahead, each choice unraveling and playing out in the canvas of her life. How would her family respond? Would Sam celebrate this venture into her uncharted territory, or would he struggle to reconcile it? Clara's heart raced at the thought. The prospect of direct confrontation loomed large, inciting a primal urge to protect both her art and her relationships. Just as she contemplated the culmination of her revelations, a determined knock echoed from her front door, cutting through the creative veil like a knife. The sound sent a jolt through her system. Who could it be? With her breath caught in her throat, Clara set down the brush, heart pounding. Perhaps the next chapter of her journey awaited her on the other side of that door, one that would demand clarity and resolve. Clara took a moment to compose herself, the brush still clutched in her fingers. The knock reverberated through her, a tangible reminder of the decisions looming before her. Thoughts raced through her mind as she crossed the room, each step pulling her deeper into a maze of uncertainty. What if this was the moment that would define everything going forward? Opening the door, she was met by a familiar face, but not one she anticipated. It was Emily, her daughter-in-law. The bright smile that usually lit up her features was dimmed with a hint of concern. Clara's heart sank. Emily was deeply woven into the family tapestry, and any strand pulled in the wrong direction could unravel their carefully crafted dynamics. "Hi, Clara, can I come in? We need to talk," Emily said, her voice steady but laced with an urgency that snatched the breath from Clara's lungs. "Of course," Clara replied, stepping aside. Her mind churned as Emily entered, leaving behind the sunlight that glimmered on the canvas. The atmosphere thickened with unspoken words, each lingering moment amplifying the tension. "Your painting was incredible," Emily began, glancing at the canvas that pulsated with Clara's emotional intensity. "I could feel the energy when I walked by. You know, Sam told me how passionate you've become about this." That was it. The doorway to her vulnerability had opened. Clara hesitated, the weight of potential backlash heavy on her shoulders. Emily continued, less tentatively now. "I want to create something beautiful for the wedding as well, something that reflects our family. Could we collaborate?" The word struck Clara with the force of a jagged wave. Collaborate? The very essence of what she was forging was intertwined with her desire for autonomy. Yet, the thought of imposing limits upon Emily's vision felt equally restrictive. Could she merge two artistic hearts without losing her own in the process? "Emily, this is meaningful to me. It's not just about the wedding," she finally responded, her voice wavering slightly. "It's about who I am now, how I want to honor my past and embrace my future." "I understand that, believe me, but my vision includes your light too," Emily said, her eyes locking onto Clara's with sincerity. "What would this wedding mean without the woman who taught us all to appreciate beauty?" Clara's resolve wavered under the weight of Emily's words. There was a duality in responsibility that began to take shape in her mind, embracing the family while allowing her individuality to flourish. But could she really blend its essence with her artistic expression and retain her own authenticity? "I need time to think about it," Clara finally replied, trying to mask the turmoil within. "Take your time. I just want us to be united in this, not divided," Emily replied, a gentle smile beginning to replace her earlier seriousness. As she closed the door behind Emily, Clara felt a rush of mixed emotions, gratitude and trepidation swirling like paint on her canvas. Their conversation had ignited a new sense of purpose, but also introduced a fear of compromise that gnawed at her self-assurance. She needed to carve her path without alienating the very family she cherished. That evening, the shadows grew longer, stretching into the quiet corners of her studio. Clara stood before her artwork, the colors now vibrant with the promise of her voice. It dawned upon her that the decision she faced was not merely about the wedding, but about redefining what family meant to her, and how her art could knit her love more tightly instead of unravel it. Her brush hovered once more, thoughts racing as a plan crystallized. This wedding needed a new direction, one that celebrated each individual while forging a collective bond, a reflection of shared stories and aspirations. How could she present this vision without overwhelming her family? With resolve tightening her chest, Clara realized she could navigate the waters of her family dynamics while championing her own art. But as she dipped the brush into the white paint, preparing to create a blank space for fresh expressions, another knock echoed at the door. Who could it be this time? A new chapter awaited, and with it, the potential for deeper conflict and profound revelations. Clara's brush froze mid-air as a second knock echoed through the studio, more insistent this time. The peaceful solitude she had found in her art shattered, replaced with a thrum of anxiety. She dropped the brush, paint splattering the canvas like nervous thoughts. Was this the universe pushing for a confrontation or a call for connection? She opened the door slowly, revealing a tall figure with apprehensive eyes, Sam, her son. His brows knitted together in concern, his hands clenched at his sides. Clara felt a twinge of unease. They hadn't had a moment alone in weeks, too caught up in family commitments and the impending wedding. "Mom, can we talk?" Sam's words hung heavy in the air, and she sensed an urgency that mirrored her own tumultuous thoughts. "Of course, come in," Clara said, leading him to her studio, where the canvas awaited its next layer. She motioned for him to sit, but he remained standing, pacing like a caged animal. Clara's heart raced. Whatever was brewing inside him felt monumental. "It's about Emily," Sam began, his voice strained. "She mentioned wanting to work with you on something for the wedding, and I guess I see it a little differently." "I see," Clara replied cautiously, her mind racing. She understood Emily's desire to include her, but now her son's hesitations felt like a fissure threatening to widen. "What do you mean?" "Look, I get that weddings are special, but I don't want you to lose yourself in this project. This is still your art. I fear Emily is asking too much, pushing you to compromise what it means to you," he confessed, running a hand through his hair in agitation. His words resonated deep, aligning eerily with Clara's own worries. She took a moment to reflect. "But Sam, this could be a bridge," she said, cultivating her thoughts carefully. "If we can channel both our visions into something beautiful, it might enhance the wedding without losing what I need. But what happens if it doesn't turn out how you imagined? What if you feel overshadowed?" His eyes bore into hers, and Clara recognized both a protective instinct and a misunderstanding of her growth. "I've spent so many years postponing my dreams for others, Sam. I don't want to close the door to collaboration simply because I fear losing a piece of myself." Her voice steady now, Clara felt a flicker of defiance. "Isn't art about evolution, about incorporating new influences?" Sam's shoulders relaxed slightly, but the skepticism hadn't fully dissipated. "I see that, Mom, but it's also about boundaries. I worry that your openness might leave you feeling exposed or even taken for granted." The conversation shifted in Clara's mind, her son's concerns linking to her own internal battle. Boundaries. She had placed a significant emphasis on family unity, but at what cost? Was her autonomy worth sacrificing for the sake of collaborative harmony? "Maybe this is more about finding common ground then," she proposed, her voice measured. "Emily wants me to be a part of something meaningful, while I want to maintain my vision. What if we set boundaries together, clear expectations on what each of us brings to the table?" Sam nodded slowly, eyes brightening. "I'd like that. It sounds empowering, for both of you. But promise me you'll stay true to your heart, regardless of how it unfolds." "I promise," she said, the weight of his care grounding her resolve. Seeing her son so invested reignited a new flame of determination within Clara. She was not just an artist, she had the power to forge new paths that honored her heart and her family simultaneously. As their conversation wound down, a surge of inspiration enveloped Clara. She envisioned an unveiling, a moment that encapsulated togetherness without diluting her artistry. She could shape the narrative, not just for the wedding, but for how they approached family collaboration moving forward. But as Sam started to leave, Clara's mind churned with new ideas. What if her art could become a dialogue for the family instead? What could she express if she dared to let them into her creative process? The door clicked shut behind him, yet Clara felt an undercurrent of unresolved possibilities swelling within her. She sat back down at her canvas, her heart racing with the urgency to explore this fresh direction. But there was still so much to confront, not just with her family, but within herself. With a newfound clarity, she dipped her brush again, ready to explore the boundaries of her creative spirit. Her phone buzzed on the table, an incoming message flashing on the screen. Glancing down, her heart dropped as she read the unexpected name. Her estranged sister, wanting to reconnect. Would this call push her further into a web of family complexities? The weight of the moment loomed, and she couldn't shake the feeling that another storm was approaching. Clara's heart raced, not just from the message on her phone, but from the myriad of emotions swirling within her, anger, apprehension, and a tinge of hope. She hadn't spoken to her sister Angela in years. The unresolved issues between them felt like a wall, solid and impenetrable. Why now? She hesitated before tapping on the message, contemplating the weight of their history. Clara's mind wandered back to the last time they had seen each other, to a tense family gathering where words had been exchanged like daggers. Accusations and regrets had carved deep rifts. "Can we meet?" it read simply. A familiar sense of dread clawed at her, enveloping her thoughts. Was this a reconciliation attempt, or an opening to resurface old grudges? Rationality urged her to disregard the invitation, to focus on her art, on the delicate balance between family and self. Yet the artist within her craved the complexity this interaction could bring. Choosing to respond, Clara typed, "Let's meet. What did you want to discuss?" Her fingers hovered over the screen, wrestling with the possibility that her decision would lead to unexpected growth or more pain. She sent the message, feeling an unsettling mix of anticipation and dread course through her. The response was swift. "Coffee tomorrow? 10 a.m. at our old cafe?" Clara squeezed her eyes shut, memories flooding back. Those innocent moments filled with laughter and creative musings, now tainted with layers of betrayal. She had been so focused on family unity recently. Perhaps reconnecting with Angela could serve as a reminder of just how fractured relationships could be. But how would it fit within her newly forged path of artistic collaboration? Determined, Clara resolved to confront not just her sister, but the memories that plagued their relationship. The next morning came, and she dressed with intention, choosing a wrap that felt both comforting and bold. As she stepped into the cafe, the aroma of brewing coffee wrapped around her like a familiar embrace. Angela was already seated at a corner table, fingers entwined tightly, her eyes darting around as if trying to anchor herself to the moment. Clara sat down, tension thickening the air between them. "You look well," Clara said, trying to navigate the fragile waters of this encounter. "Thanks," Angela replied, voice steady, but eyes betraying vulnerability. "I've missed you, Clara." The sincerity surprised Clara, stirring feelings she hadn't anticipated. "I've missed you too," Clara admitted, though the words felt heavy, weighed down by the complexities of their shared past. After a brief silence, Angela spoke again, softer this time. "I wanted to reach out after Mom's anniversary. I thought maybe it was time we dealt with everything between us." There it was, the catalyst, the moment Clara had dreaded and desired simultaneously. "We haven't had the easiest of histories," Clara pointed out, her voice firm but not unkind. "There's a lot we've left unsaid." Listening to her own voice, she realized that the confrontation wasn't just about reconciling their differences. It was an opportunity for Clara to reassert herself professionally and personally. "It's true," Angela agreed, her gaze steady now. "But I want to change that. I thought about what you said during that last Christmas, about stepping into your own light. I want to be part of that journey, if you'll let me." Each word felt like a potential opening, a fragile thread binding their lives again. The thought of bringing Angela back into her life stirred mixed emotions, but Clara recognized that this could be a chance to redefine her boundaries, to reaffirm her autonomy. Would allowing her sister into her world dilute her art or enrich it? Through the conversation, Clara began to envision a collaboration, not just in the context of the wedding with Emily, but perhaps a joint artistic venture with Angela that explored their past and present. The idea sent ripples of excitement through her. It was bold and terrifying. Suddenly, a new realization dawned on her. Could this be the evolution she sought, not just in her art, but within herself? Challenge and conflict were catalysts for growth, and sometimes reconciliation meant building bridges where walls once stood. As they dug deeper into their conversation, Clara felt her resolve harden. Whatever lay ahead, Clara was ready to face it, but first, she had to determine if she could fully trust in this fragile truce with her sister. As they sipped their coffee, the tension began to dissolve, revealing a complex relationship with possibilities. Clara pondered how she might weave this experience into her art, a tapestry of family, boundaries, and collaboration. But just as Clara felt herself leaning into this potential breakthrough, another name entered her mind uninvited. Emily. Could integrating her sister's contributions escalate the emerging complexities or unify them? The path ahead felt more convoluted than before, yet Clara sensed that in this uncertainty lay the seeds of something transformative. Would this new dynamic propel her artistic journey, or would it unravel everything she had begun to rebuild? With uncertainty settling in her chest, the conversation flickered to life, and Clara braced herself for the unfolding story that awaited. Clara sat in the cafe, the conversation with her sister echoing in her mind like a persistent melody. Each word they exchanged was laced with unspoken questions and buried emotions, both pushing and pulling her in different directions. She could feel the weight of the moment pressing down like a blanket, suffocating yet strangely comforting. Angela had expressed a desire to be involved in Clara's journey toward artistic self-realization. That single statement ignited a fire in Clara's mind. Could her sister's re-entry into her life serve as the creative spark she so desperately sought? Could their shared history, tainted as it was, be transformed into something meaningful? That thought nudged at the corners of her consciousness as she contemplated the path she was forging. "I know it's sudden," Angela said, her tone tentative, "but maybe we could do something together? Art has always been a way for us to connect, even back when we were kids." The mention of their childhood brought back a flood of memories. Long summer days spent painting on the porch, the laughter that seemed to come so easily before everything fell apart. Clara took a deep breath, wrestling with her instinct to push Angela away and the yearning for a connection she had longed to revisit. Their family's history was not just filled with strife. It also held the potential for redemption, growth, and healing. Could this collaboration be a chance for both of them to redefine their narratives? Clara questioned the validity of her hesitation. Was she afraid of facing their past, or was it the fear of inviting her sister back into her life that gripped her? Silence stretched between them, a palpable tension hanging in the air. Clara broke it. "What exactly did you have in mind?" The question hung heavy, a cautious step into uncharted territory. "I thought we could explore our journey through art, a series that delves into who we were as kids and how we grew apart. It could be cathartic," she said, her voice softening, revealing a vulnerability that Clara hadn't noticed before. Clara's heart raced. Bold and risky, this idea stirred something deep within. It was as if the heart of their shared history pulsed through the fibers of her being. "Are you sure you want to relive all of that? It could get really messy," Clara responded, her practicality surfacing. "I'm willing to face it," Angela insisted, resolve lining her words. "This is important to me. I've thought about it for a long time, and I believe that art can help us confront those demons together." The doubt in Clara's mind began to dissipate, replaced by a flicker of excitement. This collaborative project could act as a narrative bridge, a conduit for both sisters to process their painful past and give rise to a new future. What began as an agonizing encounter now took a shape filled with potential. Could they transform life's thorns into blossoms? But as the creative spark ignited, Clara also grappled with a different thought. Emily. She had been prioritizing her own progress, and the upcoming wedding was approaching rapidly. Would she have the time to commit to this joint venture while juggling her obligations? The potential bond with Angela became interconnected with the responsibilities that awaited her. "I'm intrigued," she said slowly, weighing her words carefully. "But we have to be cautious. I don't want to sideline my other commitments." Angela nodded slowly, understanding the complexities involved. "I inherently respect that. It doesn't have to be a race. We can take our time." Yet deep inside, Clara felt the clock ticking, mounting pressure from multiple angles. The fluid dynamic of her aspirations with Angela began to worm its way into her thoughts. What if this collaboration not only pushed her own boundaries, but also reshaped her vision for the wedding? The stories, the emotions, the unearthing of past traumas. Would it lead her to a richer art piece that could define her career? But what if it doesn't work out? Clara asked, her insecurities surfacing once more. What if the past is too heavy to carry forward? Angela leaned in, eyes locked on Clara's. If it brings us discomfort, that's part of the process. We'll only know what we're capable of if we confront it together. Clara could see her sister's unwavering determination mirrored in her own heart. A profound chapter of her life was starting, one that intertwined both her past and future. The potential for growth, failure, and shared healing sparkled like distant stars, illuminating a path she desperately wanted to pursue. Yet as Clara considered the emerging possibilities, a nagging question remained. Was she prepared to not only expose her vulnerabilities, but also risk unraveling the very fabric of her redefined identity as an artist? As they began to carve out their ideas, Clara's mind raced with the dimensions of their discussion. The intertwining of family and art received a fresh perspective, but undiscovered concerns still loomed. Would stepping into this collaboration strengthen her foundation or lay heavy cracks in her creative pursuits? The tension simmered, and just as Clara felt the stirrings of clarity amidst the chaos, another message flashed on her phone, a reminder about Emily's wedding planning details. The sudden alert tugged at her attention, a reminder of the delicate balance she had to maintain between her art and her personal life. Clara's heart quickened, uncertainty mixing with anticipation. She was caught on a precipice, teetering between the past and her future. The moment had arrived to confront the complexities of her decisions. As she regarded her sister, a sense of determination mixed with trepidation flooded her being. The time had come to face whether she could truly embrace this journey of reconciliation while still being true to herself. With the conversation unfolding like a canvas ready to be painted, Clara held her breath, wondering how the strokes of her past would blend with the colors of her future. Clara left the cafe, her mind churning as she stepped back into the vibrant colors of a late afternoon, the sun casting long shadows against the pavement. The weight of the conversation with Angela clung to her like damp clothes, heavy but oddly liberating. As she walked, her thoughts spiraled with the understanding that this was not simply an artistic endeavor. It held the potential to change everything she thought she knew about her relationship with her sister. The wedding loomed closer, an event Clara had poured herself into, channeling meticulous attention towards the details, each decision a small victory in her pursuit of a flawless celebration. But now, with the possibility of collaboration flickering before her, she felt that familiar tug-of-war within herself. Could she truly unlock that part of her that had been dormant for so long, all while juggling the demands of Emily's big day? As she crossed the street, an unsettling thought snagged her. Was she avoiding the deeper issues by burying herself in wedding logistics? The question gnawed at her, drawing her attention towards the pent-up emotions she had been stashing away like unused paint. This new venture with Angela could serve as both a reclamation of her past and a path forward, a way to emerge from the shadows into artistic brilliance. Yet fear crouched just below the surface. What if dredging up their shared history was like peeling an onion, exposing layers of pain that were better left untouched? Clara couldn't hide from the truth any longer. She wondered whether her reluctance stemmed from a fear of failure or a fear of success. The latter seemed absurd, yet as she pondered it, a wave of self-realization washed over her. If she succeeded, what would that mean for who she was, both as an artist and as a sister? The path back to Angela was unclear, littered with the jagged remnants of their past misunderstandings. The artsy idealism that once consumed her now collided with practicality. She needed an anchor, a way to bridge the gap between her two worlds. Clara flipped through her mental catalog of past works, recalling those days at the porch when art had facilitated heartfelt conversations. Perhaps that naive enthusiasm could fuel their collaboration. She arrived home to the familiar disarray of her workspace, sketches of wedding themes scattered carelessly, and unfinished paintings leaning precariously against the wall. Each piece reflected not just her artistic aspirations, but also the emotional turbulence that had marked her life lately. It was here that she felt a familiar itch in her fingers, the untamed urge to create pulling her in two directions again. Taking a deep breath, she cleared a spot on the desk and picked up a brush, her hands trembling slightly. Something within her stirred, a call to action. Today, she would not only prepare for Emily's wedding, she would also begin to sketch the themes of her collaboration with Angela. She needed these two elements to coexist, a yin and yang of her life's narrative, illustrating both obligation and artistic exploration. But, as she dipped the brush into vibrant colors, a voice crept into her head, a reminder of self-doubt whispering that she would fail to live up to the promise that her new project held. Was this leap into the unknown merely a way to escape from the impending wedding stress? Clara paused, her brush hovering over the canvas. What if she used this moment not just as a canvas for artistic expression, but also as a mirror reflecting her inner fears and desires? With each stroke, she could confront not only her reunion with Angela, but also the contextual weight of childhood memories, everything they had lost, and everything they could potentially reclaim. She dipped back into her thoughts, compelled by an urgent need to confront those unsettling questions. But at the back of her mind, another question loomed. What did this mean for her relationship with Emily? Could the emotional energy she poured into reconnecting with Angela disrupt the tightrope she was walking in her other commitments? A sudden vibration from her phone punctuated her contemplation, an incoming message breaking the spell. It was from Angela, asking when they could meet to discuss their collaboration further. Clearly, Clara had to respond, but the apprehension turned her excitement into knots. With breath shallow, she began to type, her mind wrestling between anticipation and anxiety. As she pressed send, Clara had no idea what this next conversation would unveil. The blend of past and future hung in the air, shimmering with both possibility and peril. Could this be the moment she had been waiting for, the catalyst that shifted her narrative entirely? Or would it trap her in a cycle of unresolved conflicts? The art she was about to create could either liberate her or ensnare her deeper within her fears. As she contemplated the implications of her next steps, she felt the air thicken with untapped potential. And with that realization, Clara steeled herself for whatever awaited her in that next encounter, an artistic awakening or a confrontation with the complex fabric of her relational landscape. Would the call to her sister bring forth reconciliation, or further unravel the tapestry of her life's carefully curated events? Clara stared at the blank canvas before her, the anticipation electrifying the air around her. The message she'd sent Angela had been a step not just towards a potential collaboration, but also an acknowledgement of her own suppressed aspirations. Now, with her heart racing, she felt the dual weight of her responsibilities and the dawning realization that she was on the precipice of a significant shift. The wedding preparations loomed large in her mind, a cacophony of details demanding her attention: floral arrangements, guest lists, and seating charts. Yet, a tantalizing whisper of creativity beckoned, pointing towards Angela and the symbol of their joint artistic vision. Could she unearth and embrace that creative spark while still executing the wedding with the precision her family expected? Clara rolled a fresh canvas onto her easel, pushing away the negative thoughts that threatened to ensnare her. She envisioned not only the art piece, but the deeper message behind it, a merging of her past relationship with Angela. As she applied the brush to the surface, the vivid colors flowed freely, intertwining and sparking with life. Each stroke represented moments etched in memory, echoing laughter and shared dreams long neglected. What had originally felt daunting morphed into an exhilarating exploration of her identity and a bridge toward her sister. In the quiet intimacy of her workspace, Clara began to unravel the complexities of her emotions, an array of joy mixed with fear, nostalgia intertwined with hope. As vibrant shades of blue and green filled the canvas, she realized that she had not only been stifled by her past, but had also allowed herself to be compartmentalized in her current life. She could be both the meticulous wedding planner and the passionate artist. Yet, lingering in her thoughts was the fear that by leaning into her creativity, she might inadvertently overshadow Emily's celebratory moment. Clara's mind spiraled into a realm of doubt. Would her sister appreciate the artistic endeavor, or would it be perceived as a distraction from the wedding? Before she could spiral further, her phone buzzed again. It was Angela, suggesting they meet the next day. Clara's heart fluttered. It was both a thrilling and terrifying prospect. This could either solidify their artistic bond or further expose their past wounds. Would their shared history enhance the experience, or would it unravel under the weight of their emotional baggage? Determined to face this head-on, Clara allowed herself to breathe deeply. She took a step back from the canvas and reflected. Each decision she made could either propel her forward or keep her tethered to a fear-based existence. What if embracing this artistic collaboration with Angela didn't mean abandoning her role as a sister, but enriching it? With renewed energy, she picked up her phone and texted Angela a confirmation for their meeting, her fingers dancing over the screen. As she pressed send, a ripple of exhilaration coursed through her. Clara was ready to embrace whatever conversations awaited, prepared to engage in the rawness of their relationship, to confront both their pain and their potential. The moment felt pivotal. The fog of uncertainty began to lift as new possibilities swirled around her. Clara turned back to her canvas, refocused on merging the visual story she was about to create with the narrative of her life. This was more than paint on a surface. It represented confrontation with her fears and a reclamation of her artistry and identity. As she layered colors atop each other, she suddenly felt a thrum of urgency. There was a hidden power waiting to be unleashed within her, one that could transform not just her relationship with Angela, but the path she had walked for much too long. What creative expression might emerge from this collaboration? Suddenly, the door slammed shut in her mind. Self-doubt would no longer be her master. Clara knew she was ready to uncover the art of her own existence, even if it meant navigating through uncomfortable truths. But the most pressing question loomed large. As she prepared to carve out this significant chapter of her life, was she poised to face not just Angela, but the repercussions of her own awakening? The clock was ticking and clarity was calling. It was time to confront her truth. As Clara brushed vibrant streaks against the canvas, she felt the stirring urgency of the unknown. Her heart raced as she envisioned their reunion. The unspoken truths hung heavy in the air, a formidable shadow in the light of her burgeoning creativity. What revelations awaited her as she leaned into the future, both with Angela and within herself? Clara stepped into the cafe, the familiar scent of coffee mingling with the sweet stirrings of nostalgia. The light danced through the window, illuminating the rustic tables that held countless conversations, battles, and reconciliations. The air crackled with potential as she approached Angela, who wore a tentative smile, one that held both hope and uncertainty. "Hey, Clara," her sister said softly. "Thanks for meeting me." Clara nodded, her heart thumping. This meeting was not merely about reconnecting. It was about unearthing the remnants of their fractured relationship, rebuilding with artistry as their foundation. A layer of tension settled as they exchanged small pleasantries, but the weight of unspoken truths loomed above them, heavier than the infinite coffee choices they faced. "I've been thinking a lot," Angela finally began, her eyes searching Clara's, "about our art, our past. I believe we can transform the pain into something beautiful." The words resonated deeply within Clara. She had been wrestling with what sharing this journey truly meant, and the idea of reclaiming their childhood through art ignited a fire within her. "I want that too," Clara admitted, feeling the first stirrings of empowerment. "But can we do this without stepping on each other's toes?" Angela's gaze steadied, her resolve clear. "We need to set boundaries. I want this to be a collaboration that honors both our individual voices as much as our shared history. Clara felt a wave of relief wash over her. Could this truly be the moment they began to heal? Yes. Let's define our roles. I want us to create something that expresses our journey, but I also need to ensure it stays true to who we are now. Their conversation unfurled into a beautiful tapestry of ideas, with Clara feeling a sense of liberation she hadn't known in years. The idea of merging their artistic perspectives into a visual narrative blurred the lines of their former misunderstandings and instead allowed potential growth. As they continued to brainstorm, Clara felt a burgeoning excitement filling the empty spaces in her heart. The art she longed to create was morphing right before her eyes. This was no longer just a project. It was a testament to their journey, a reckoning with their pasts that held the potential to blossom into beauty. Meanwhile, Clara's mind drifted toward Emily and the upcoming wedding. She resolved to integrate the themes from this collaboration into the wedding ceremonies, centering on honoring their familial bonds while celebrating individual aspirations. It felt daring, articulating her personal growth against the backdrop of a family celebration, but Clara was done shying away from discomfort. She could do both. As her ideas melded, the cafe felt charged with possibility. Clara took a deep breath, ready to embrace the transformative journey ahead. I want to showcase our collaboration in a way that reflects the essence of our family, but also the integrity of our artistic selves. Angela's eyes sparkled with agreement, their laughter mingling, filling the cafe with a warmth that had long been absent from their exchanges. They tentatively sketched out plans for the art series while envisioning its integration into the wedding. Later that day, Clara returned to her studio, her spirit brimming with purpose. Standing before her canvas, she was renewed with clarity. The swirls of vibrant colors she laid down echoed the conversations of the cafe, intertwined with the beauty of reconciliation. Each brushstroke sang of newfound freedom, the freedom to be a mother, an artist, and now a sister all at once. In the months to come, Clara dedicated herself to the demands of both family and creativity, embracing the dual rhythms with confidence. She painted passionately, transforming her feelings into visual stories that revealed the essence of her family's legacy alongside her own ambitions. The wedding day arrived, and Clara felt the electric atmosphere surrounding her, a blend of joy and nervous anticipation. Standing side by side with Angela, the combined artwork they'd created adorned the venue, vivid colors and stories breathing life into an event that simultaneously celebrated their family and each other's individual evolutions. Guests marveled at the interconnectedness of the pieces, unaware of the personal journey that lay beneath each stroke. As the ceremony unfolded, Clara noticed the profound transformation within herself. She felt radiant and confident, finally stepping into the fullness of who she was alongside the family she loved so dearly. When Sam mentioned Clara's art during his speech, the pride in his voice was unmistakable, validating her resolve. "Let's remember," he proclaimed, "the heart of family lies in understanding each other's journeys." With that, Clara reveled in the convergence of her worlds, each moment a testament to her growth and her ability to reclaim her artistry. After the festivities, as Clara reflected on her journey, clarity surged through her like a triumphant melody. She had conquered her inner conflicts, embraced her artistry, and simultaneously fortified her familial bonds. In that moment, she recognized her own brilliance, not just as a mother, nor merely as an artist, but as a multifaceted individual worthy of every stroke she painted on the canvas of her life. As she stepped back to admire her latest creation, a resonant stillness settled over her. This was the life she had envisioned, filled with art, love, and the nurturing of relationships. Clara had achieved something much deeper than acknowledgement. She had found wholeness through expression and connection. Emboldened by her journey, Clara knew this was not the end, but merely the beginning. She felt a vibrant pulse of anticipation for what lay ahead, an unfolding future where creativity and love intertwined in an unbreakable bond. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Your support is crucial. Comment your reactions and theories about this uplifting ending below. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to spread the inspiration.